Tonight's story is about a goddess who was told by everyone around her that she had already failed, that Shiv would never open his eyes, that he would never love again, that she should never give up and find something easier to love. She listened to all of it, and then she took off her jewelry and put on bark cloth and walked into forest alone. This is the story of Parvati and the love that moved even the god who had closed his heart to the world. Close your eyes if you like. Let me take you there. Long ago, before Parvati's story begins, there was Sati. Sati was Shiv's first wife, the love of his timeless life. She died at her father's feast, a death of sorrow, the kind of comes when people who are supposed to love you choose pride over you instead. When Shiv understood what had happened, his grief was beyond anything the three worlds had seen. He carried her for what felt like eternity. He carried her body across the cosmos until Lord Vishnu quietly, gently helped Shiv let her go. And Shiv retreated to Kailash. He closed his eyes. He went into meditation so deep that the world grew cold. Gods began to lose wars. Rivers slowed. The universe lost its balance without the great God present in it. The gods begged Vishnu for help. Shiv must wake, they said. Shiv must love again. His son is the only one who can defeat the demon Tarkasur. But for a son, there must first be a wife. Vishnu nodded slowly. Sati will be reborn, he said. She always was going to be. Her name in this life will be Parvati, the daughter of the mountains. But Shiv will not love her simply because she exists. She will need to go to him. She will need to reach him. Parvati was born to Himavan, the king of the mountains, and his queen Meena. From the beginning, something about the child was different. She grew up on the slopes of the Himalayas, watching the peak of Kailash where Shiv sat in meditation with a feeling that she could not name. When sage Narad visited her family, he took one look at her and told her parents, "This daughter will marry Shiv." Meena, her mother, recoiled. Shiv? The ash-covered one? He has no home, no wealth. He lives in cremation grounds. His companions are ghosts and serpents, not our daughter. But Parvati had already heard, and in her heart, something had settled, she knew. She went to her parents and said, "I want to serve Shiv. I want to go to where he is." Her father agreed. Her mother begged her not to go. That is why one of Parvati's name, Uma, comes from her mother's cry. Uma, do not go. Oh daughter, do not go. But Parvati went. She arrived at the place on Kailash where Shiv had burned Kamdev, the god of desire, when Kamdev had once tried to interrupt his meditation. It was scorched ground, quite a little frightening. Parvati took off every ornament, every piece of jewelry, every silk cloth, every comfort she had known as a princess. She dressed in bark, she braided her hair simply, she purified the ground and built a small platform. And she began not to call to Shiv, not to beg, but to become. Sage Narad had taught her the 5-syllable mantra of Shiv, Om Namah Shivaya, and told her, chant this always without stopping. With every breath, everything else will follow. And so she chanted. In summer, she sat in the center of 4 fires under the blazing sun. In monsoon, she sat on a bare rock as the rain drenched completely. In winter, she sat with her feet in icy water through the long cold nights. First she gave up cooked food, then all food, then even leaves from the trees. She survived on air alone, but because of this she gained another name, Aparna, the one who does not even eat a leaf. Thousands of years passed. Her parents came to take her home. Her father wept. Her mother begged. Friends, sages, holy men all came to Gauri Shikhar, the peak where she sat, and told her, Parvati, give up. It is impossible. Even we cannot make Shiv move. She looked at them with calm eyes. I know Shiv burned Kamdev to ashes, she said. I know he is deep in a grief I cannot enter, but I also know that with Tapasya, with true one-pointed devotion, anything becomes possible. I'm not trying to make Shiv love me. I'm trying to become worthy of the love that already exists between us. Go, I will stay. They bowed before her and left. The gods, growing desperate, sent Kamdev, the god of love and desire, to awaken Shiv's emotion. It was a brave mission and a foolish one. Kamdev arrived in spring when the whole world was blooming and drew his bow of sugarcane, strung with a line of bees, and shot his flower or arrow directly at Shiv's heart. For one instant, just once, Shiv's meditation cracked, his eyes opened slightly, and then his third eye opened. A beam of fire, Kamdev reduced to ash in a single moment. Shiv's eyes closed again. Parvati stood and watched it all. She was not disturbed. She simply turned back to her platform, sat down and continued to chant. Parvati's tapasya had grown so powerful that the three worlds trembled with it. Even Shiv, deep in his meditation, felt it. He decided to test her. He came to her disguised as an old Brahmin, a wandering ascetic, seeking food and rest. Parvati offered him everything she had. They talked, and slowly, gently, the old man began to criticize Shiv. Why do you want to marry him? He has no home. He smears himself with ashes. He lives in cremation grounds. His companions are ghosts. He has no husband for a princess like you. Parvati listened calmly for a long time, and then her eyes changed. Enough, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it was made of ears. You don't see what I see. Shiv is the ground of all existence. He is the one who carried the unbearable so the world could continue. He is beyond what any of your words can touch. And if you continue to speak this way, I will leave. She turned to go. The disguise dissolved, and Shiv stood before her in his true form, radiant, open. He reached forward and took her hand. Parvati, he said, I have seen everything. I have been watching for a long time. Won over by your tapasya, from this moment, I am yours. Now here is what this story is really about. The god sent Kamdev to make Shiv love Parvati. The desire tried, it failed, it burned. Because love that comes from desire is not the love that reaches the deepest hearts. What reached Shiv, what finally moved the god who was beyond moving, was not beauty, not charm, not a flower arrow. It was years of faithful, daily, undefeated becoming. Parvati did not win Shiv by making her appealing to him. She won him by becoming more fully herself every day until who she was could no longer be ignored. The Shiv Puran says that her tapasya shook the three worlds, not because it was loud, but because it was real. In Sanskrit, there is a name for the kind of love Parvati showed. Ananya Bhakti, one-pointed devotion, not obsession, not need, but the kind of commitment that doesn't waver when people tell you to stop. When the world says it is impossible, when even the gods give up and go home, she knew something they didn't. That the things most worth reaching require the longest walk. So the next time you are told that something you love is impossible, remember the girl who sat with her feet in frozen water and a mantra on her lips and her eyes on the peak above her. She was not waiting for Shiv to come to her. She was becoming the version of herself that Shiv would recognize.